All right, there we go. Is that, you know, there was no advanced training for brokers. We got the handbook, we got the webinars exactly as you did. I watched them with you. So there was not a lot of advanced training or anything like that for brokers, which is one of my biggest beefs. But anyways, that's a couple of disclaimers as well. When we ask questions today, I'm gonna do my best to answer them based on the knowledge that I have. And again, if there's anything that I don't know the answer to, I will say I don't know the answer to that, and we're going to write it down, and we're going to make sure that gets added to our list of questions that go to Securities Commission, Maria, whoever it needs to go to. As well, I'll be sharing some personal opinions, which, you know, there's going to be kind of two things. I'm going to tell you what the act says. I'm going to tell you what my interpretation is. Sometimes I'm going to tell you also what my opinion on what you should do and how you should respond to it. So some of those things might jive and some of them are going to be some opinions, but take everything with a grain of salt, and we're all in this together trying to figure it out. So I appreciate everybody's participation, and if you have any questions, please throw it out there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it kind of section by section. So for instance, I'm going to start off with service agreements. We're going to talk about service agreements. I'm going to kind of answer a few of the FAQs that I've already been asked a lot of questions about. Answer some of those. If there's any remaining questions about service agreements, I'll open it up. You guys can ask questions about service agreements. I'll do my best to answer them. And then we'll kind of move on to advertising and such. So we'll kind of take it by section to kind of keep us focused on point, because I'm sure you guys all have a lot of questions. Is that cool? Everyone says cool. Awesome. All righty. I just want to see if there's anything else I'm missing here. Yeah, I guess in the last thing, again, with each section, we want some, in addition to your questions, I want to also get some feedback, because again, as a brokerage, we want to make this as easy as possible for you guys. You know, I know there's some burden with RESA, but our goal, hey, we want to make it as easy as possible. So we ask for some feedback, what we can do as a brokerage to make your life and your business easier, right? So we're going to have some opportunities for some feedback there as well. Okay, so we are gonna start off with service agreements. And again, as we talk, Cassandra is doing a great job. She's been taking some notes, and she's going to be compiling some of these notes in writing, and we'll be posting the notes up on the hub as well after this. And it is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out to you guys as well. Okay, so service agreements, when we're talking about that, again, I think it's been, I think we're slowly starting to get used to them. We're seeing them come in. So a couple of the FAQs that I've been getting. So, you know, the biggest ones are, you know, what do you actually need a service agreement for? And of course, you need them for virtually anything that is called real estate trading services, right? So that's finding property, auto emails, advising on price, counseling on the process. All of those things are found in the Act. There's a whole big list. It's almost anything that you need to do. You need to have service agreements in place. I think everyone kind of gets that. Sign calls, again, repeat, we do not need them for sign calls until you start working for that person and start advising them on the process, etc. If you're just opening a door, showing them the house on behalf of a seller, you don't need a service agreement for that buyer. Another big one to remember, again, the service agreements are brokerage wide. Okay, so one of the questions always is, well, what if I have my teammate, you know, if you have a team, my team member is going to show it. I showed it today, they're showing it tomorrow, and we're going on vacation. So Bob down the hall is going to show it for me. Do I need new service agreements? No, you do not. Once you get one service agreement signed, it is at the brokerage level. So your teammates, et cetera, can go and still work with that service agreement. Those are some of the big ones. You could also make your own form. That is the answer to that is yes. As I'm sure you know, you can make your own service agreement if you would like. It does have to be approved by the brokerage first, because again, a service agreement is tying the brokerage to the service agreement, not to yourself individually. So you do need to make sure you run that by me first if you're creating your own service agreement. The one of the questions I have for everyone as well is we're looking at, you know, part of this was as well as service agreements, especially is here's what the Act said, right? And then real life kicks in, right? And so this is going to be, you know, any service agreement we've currently made, is it going to be the service agreement we're going to be using for the rest of our lives? I guarantee you it will not be, right? It's going to change as we start experiencing new things in real world time, new situations that we haven't thought of, right? We try to think of as many things as possible and many situations in advance, but then, hey, a new one kind of pops up. We've already had some. So then we can look at, morphing, creating and doctoring up our service agreements. So one of the things, my questions to you as well on topic of service agreements is, how are you finding the forms that Maria provided? We've kind of doctored up a couple more. One of the things that's, I guess, been brought up is the option of, do you like having one big giant form with a bunch of check boxes that you can modify to your heart's content, or is it a value for the brokerage to create some templates for a whole bunch of different situations? As in, I think there's one created already if you're just going in there doing a CMA for somebody and that's it. Do we want one for an auto email? Do we want one for just a sign call? Do we want one for all these different types of situations? We can create little mini ones, very quick, simple, 3-paragraph kind of forms for a bunch of different situations. Or do you like the ability to just go modify one big giant form? So anyways, that is some of the FAQs I got for service agreements. I'm going to open the floor up. Who's got questions about service agreements?
How is the governing bodies tracking service agreements?
The governing bodies are not tracking service agreements. So if the governing bodies being MSC, they're not tracking service agreements. What is required of an agent is to, again, cannot provide services without one. And that once you have one signed, you have to submit copies, right? And submit to the brokerage. The brokerage's job is to maintain them and keep them on file for 5 years. You do have to, again, hand them in on when you do a deal, so that we can slide them into the file and we know that that transaction was done with a service agreement. As you can imagine, we already have hundreds of service agreements on record at the brokerage. And I'll say a friendly reminder to you, please, if you could, when you send them in, to rename the file as in the client's name would be very helpful. So it saves a ton of staff time to try to actually locate these things, as we already got hundreds of them. So does that answer your question, Brian? Yeah.
So to confirm, they're going in twice as soon as they're signed, and then again with the deal.
Yes. And again, the reason for that is you can sign a service agreement today with an auto email, but they're not going to buy for another 9 months, right? So in that 9 months, you turn in the deal. How are we supposed? We're supposed to go back into this massive pool all the time and start looking for them. And again, by that time in 9 months, we're going to have thousands. I don't know. So we're just saying, hey, just you already have it on file. Just send it in again, because it just saves so much. Going to save so much time. The staff are already under a lot. So super easy for you to add the attachment as opposed to us digging through thousands of service agreements.
I've got clients calling and saying they've got their new assessments in. What do I think of them? Do I have to get a service agreement signed to answer?
So in this one, I'm going to say what you think of them. It's a pretty open-ended case, right? As soon as you start setting information and comparables and advice, then or sending comparables, then yes. Okay. If you say, hey, I don't know, things a little high, let me send you some comps, then you would technically need a service agreement to send comps.
Okay.
And again, this is, I know it's recorded, so I have to be somewhat careful, but, hey, this is, between you, me, and the wall here. Like, we know reality is going to happen. We know that you're going to talk to your neighbor, you're going to go over there for a beer, and they're going to ask what the value of their home. And you're going to tell them, oh, yeah, it's probably worth 500. And you're not going to go make them sign a service agreement. Okay. Like, let's not be, the real life is going to occur. But again, if you're sending things digitally, all that kind of stuff, providing comparables, service agreements are going to be for sure needed.
Okay. Thank you.
That's not my Securities Commission answer. That's my real person answer.
Besides submitting service agreements for buyers and sellers when they buy or sell, obviously, what's the point in sending them to the office? Like, what shouldn't we just keep them on file and send it to you guys when there's actually a transaction?
So
like auto emails and everything, that just seems like so.
Yeah, I agree. And trust me, I don't want them. But number one, it's a requirement under RESA. It's right in there. It says it must be turned to the brokerage immediately upon signing, and copies given to the clients as well. Promptly is the word that the RESA uses. So it's a requirement by law. And as well, if there's issues that come up, again, I'm trying to imagine all the issues. We've already had a couple of interesting ones, but people stepping on toes of service agreements, et cetera. If the deal hasn't already happened yet, you know, agents and brokers are stepping on each other's toes and overlapping service agreements. I want to be able to go pull one up and find it. But the bigger and more important answer to that is it's required by law.
Question, if we go on a market evaluation and we're in there, we have to get our service agreement prior to providing any services. And they'd say, I don't want to sign a service agreement. We do everything in our power to explain what it's all about. And they still decide they don't want to sign it. What do we do?
Again, great question. What do you do? Well, technically speaking, if you provide the services, without a service agreement, you're technically in contravention of RESA. And that would be Securities Commission decision on, you know, if they were to find out, you know, how would they discipline you? I'm not sure, but technically speaking, be breaking the law. So again, in reality, if somebody's really not that, like, if somebody's really against signing a service agreement, you know, my question is, okay, what part of this don't you like?
Right.
What part don't you like here? Like, I'm going to provide you with comparables. I'm going to give you all this kind of stuff. What part of this don't you like? Well, I don't like the expiry date. Okay, fine. How about we expire it in 20 minutes when we're done?
Right.
You know, would that be okay? Like, how about when I leave? You can fill in the date, exactly the time when I leave here. You know, if it's about the commission, then it says 0. Is it the exclusivity? Well, it says here, you know, if we check off this box, you can go enter into a million service agreements with anyone else you want. Right. So you kind of just want to disarm and, you know, the objections, right? What's the problem with this agreement, right? It's required by law. And
yeah,
that's a problem, right? And so hopefully you should be able to sell, you guys are salesmen, sell your way out of that by removing the objections. Yeah.
I kind of don't think I'm going to have an issue with it, but there's somebody that brought that up to me and I was thinking, well, what if the person just puts their hands up in the air and says, I'm not signing anything. I don't care. I'm not going to read it. Do we just turn and walk out? Don't do the market evaluation?
That's going to be a business decision on whether you want to break the law or not.
Okay.
Like, again, that's the actual answer I have to give you, right? If you say, fine, I'll just do this anyways, technically you're in contravention. You could say, well, who's going to find out? But I don't know. Maybe somebody finds out. It's like word gets around. I'm not sure, but that's going to be took us on the line. So
I was thinking quite possibly you could write in there in the signature that the client declined to sign.
yeah, well, then that means that they're declining services, which means you can't offer them.
Okay.
Again, I'm going with that's what the act says, but
Yeah.
dumb as it may be.
Yeah.
I got a question, John Hoover.
Sure, Jenny.
You have countless people on your, and I know you've probably had this question a million times. You have countless people on your buyer search. You know, this was all given to us effective January 1st, 2022. How in the hell do you get through if you have 200 people on your matrix? Like, you could chip away at it, but you can't do 200 in a day. There's no, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Like, I know you're in contravention of the law, but what do they expect? There's got to be a reasonable amount of time.
So as much as I agree with that, there should be a reasonable amount of time. I also agree they bungled this up royally. Again, technically speaking, there is no grace period. There is no formal grace period that they're saying. So technically speaking, those auto emails should be signed up with a new service agreement. Now, again, I'm going to take off my, you know, broker hat and be a real dude for a second. So if you can't get through them, like, what are you going to start disabling all of them right now? I think, you know, MSC is going to start, you know, they can't even get their bloody forms together right now. We can't even register a PREC, let alone go digging through your auto emails, John. So this is what I would classify as get it done, you know. But is it emergency? Oh my God, I got to disable everybody right now because I don't have a service agreement. No, like, again, that's not the answer I would want recorded. I think recorded correct answer is
Yeah. No, I got
agreement,
you.
but
No, for sure.
use your, get it done, chip away at it. Nobody's going to come pounding on your door in the next, you know, number of weeks, days, months to go through your auto emails. Not going to happen.
Okay.
However, here's what's like, but again, I don't know how crazy people are out there, and some realtor hating person is on the auto email. They haven't signed a service agreement. They get wind of it through the free press article, and they want to be a jerk about it, and they report you to Securities Commission. I don't know, that could happen in theory, unlikely, but I don't know, people are jerks.
Yeah, because the other thing too is, as I was going through this, like, you know, you message 10 people, 8 of them are great and get back to you. 2 of them, I guess they get deleted after a certain period of time. Like, what do you do, right?
Again, that is at your risk, right?
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, technically in contravention of the law,
Yeah,
proceed, you know, you break, when you speed, you know you're breaking the law, you're taking
Yeah.
that risk, whether you're gonna
yeah,
get
I
caught.
got you.
Right?
Yeah.
This might be kind of a weird question, but like, who is the service agreement really designed to protect? Because I've had conversations with clients who say, "Oh, this is to protect you as the realtor," and I'm like, "Well, you know, it's to protect you as the client, and you know, like, what is the point of this stupid thing?"
Great question. I wish I could, you know, the intent, I believe, even though I've never heard this from the horse's mouth, but the intent, I believe, is to protect the public and have a realtor in its simplest form just put in writing the services that they are going to provide, so that is clear to all what they're going to do for the customer. So that is the intent, is, you know, it's just putting what you already do and know and say in writing. So
Yeah.
it's designed to protect the consumer. Now, if you adopt after your service agreement to have exclusivity, to have payments of commission, whatever else, well, then certainly, yeah, it's certain, now it's coming in to protect you. But in its simplest form, it's there to, as a protection, I guess, from the client. Not even protection, it's there for clarification.
Got it.
Here's what I'm going to do for you, right?
Okay, thank you.
Well,
I had a question there about those start and end dates there. I think I discussed that with you before. The start date is obviously going to be the date that you send it out, but the end date, I mean, you're not going to keep sending these out on a regular basis there. Why can we not have till terminated by either party? If either party doesn't agree with it, they can terminate the agreement no matter what date you have on there anyhow.
right. So I will read directly from the Act. Section 1.6, a service agreement entered into in accordance, blah, 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 must include the following, blah, 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 blah. C, the date the agreement is made and the date it expires.
So
So,
if you put the
saying-
end of the
saying-
year,
so not having a date on there does not comply with section C, that the date it expires. If it's just like, well, it expires whenever you want me to, or whatever you want it, it's not a date. So you can have an actual date, or you can have 30 days from date of signing, something like that, but you can't have this indefinite date. Or that's because it wouldn't be a date. It's just like you can't have an indefinite, unless it's just going to keep on going until we tell it to stop. That
There's
technically,
no maximum amount though, right?
no, you can have it on for 25 years if you want.
who's going to sign that?
You'd be surprised. I mean, anybody here sign something they've never read before?
I signed a service agreement. I didn't read it.
There you go. All right. Any other questions on service agreements? I see some people in the chat. Oh, there's a question in here. What happens when you go to the doctor? Oh, okay, Trevor. Okay, well, that's not a great question to answer, so I'm not going to do that. Any other feedback on the kind of the forms? You guys want to see any forms created? One of the things that was funny, because I was, as you know, I was on vacation and my parents were there. So my dad and I got a lot of talking about RESA. And one of the things is like, we just create something that's like really all encompassing, no checkboxes, just list everything on there. To have like any possible scenario, you know, including but not limited to these services, and just list them all instead of checking boxes, and try to have like one all-encompassing service agreement that covers everything. I'm not sure if that's a value to you guys. I'm probably going to play with some wording on that and shoot it to try to figure it out. Is there anything else we can do as a brokerage to help you with service agreements? Do you want to see different forms created? How else can we help you with these things?
Can you make them so that they're printable? I know you want them emailed in, but I need some in my car in case I get a last minute call and need to go somewhere.
Are they not printable?
No, they're on one form, like it's too long, so you can't print it. Annie said the reason you guys did that is because you don't actually want them printed. You just want them like they don't.
Well, yeah, we just want them digitally. So
Yeah.
we figured most people use it that way. So the current form isn't printable, or it just shrinks down too small or something?
Yeah, when you print it out, you can't even write on it. You can barely read it. So if we
Yeah,
can,
it's legal size, but it shrinks to a letter and it's really, really tiny.
Okay, unless you print it on legal, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea was to try to make it a one pager, right? So you're not carrying around papers and staples and whatever else, but I'm sure we can look at different formatting.
I like your idea
Jason,
with, oh,
Jason Tobin, I have a question. So when we get limited joint representation forms signed, honestly, nobody ever reads those. Those are really simple. So it would be nice to maybe have a form that outlines what you said and just, sign it and date it. Something that's really simple that here, this is the services, this is what we provide, sign here. Because nobody reads the limited joint representation forms. At least when I get them signed, nobody sits there and reads them, they just sign them, right? And we hand them in. Something simple like that, I think would make it much easier.
Okay, we'll work at wordsmithing something.
Yeah, I'm here for the all encompassing form as well. Just kind of like the working with a realtor form that we should be signing in the first place anyways. Yeah, just one form that it can still have the dates and the exclusive and non-exclusive and commission stuff, but just something simpler, easier to read.
Okay.
I'm on that
Yeah.
boat as well too.
Yeah, and that's where, are you fine? It's fine with that, because again, when you start getting to these scenarios, now you start having check boxes again, we're back to the same bloody form once you start putting all these variables in. So like exclusivity, are you guys using, when are you signing these up, are you really signing up exclusivity, like exclusively for the most part? Or are you saying, you're leaving your agency forms or agency contracts for that in the service agreement, you're like, for making an all-encompassing form, do you want it prescribed in there that it's just non-exclusive, or do you want the choice of making it exclusive or not?
So do we not like the forms that are available from web forms? Like, I don't find those that
Well, that's what I'm asking. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think they're pretty straightforward. You check off the boxes you want and date them and sign them, and I haven't had anybody complain about them, but if there's something easier, I guess we could put together, but I think they're pretty straightforward the way they are.
For me, it's been a different animal based on the type of client. Like existing clients that I've got rapport and stuff with, they've signed it no problem.
Right.
Calls that I've got this week, ghosting me. As soon as I say we got to go through a service agreement, they just disappear.
Right.
So I think, for those folks, it would be better to have an all encompassing form. But like Frank said, for my clients, they had no problem signing an exclusive agreement, service agreement, no problem, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say, sorry, just on that note, sorry to interrupt you, Deborah, I'll come right back to you. I'm taking the hard road in pursuing some legal, I got some lawyers reviewing something where, and I sit on the board as well on MLS committee, I'm trying to see if we can incorporate a checkbox service agreement when it comes to auto emails. So they can, you send an auto email, they'll have to just check off, like a terms of use or term, like you check off 20 times a day without reading it. One of those types of service agreement forms for an auto email that can be integrated into Matrix. So the first answer I got was like, no, that won't work because it has to be a signature. And then I read a whole bunch of legislation and I don't see that anywhere. So I have lawyers contacting MSC to try and call their bluff and maybe try to develop it at the board level. So your auto emails just go, they can check a box. And there's your service agreement for an auto email.
Nice.
So working on it, fighting provincial government takes a while. So bear with me.
we
So
should
one
have
of
an
the things
app.
Yeah, an app would be awesome.
Oh, sorry.
One of the things that we're doing on our team that other people might just do is like the question of the exclusivity or not. So what we've done is we're just printing them, we're modifying some. So one would be exclusive, one would be not exclusive. We're going to create some that just for our, most common scenarios. And then we're just labeling them and we've thrown them up in our DocuSign. So you can just, as a template, so you just go into your DocuSign, click that one, off it goes. You don't have to refill this thing out all the time. Might be helpful for other people.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, like, does it make, we can try to put some of these, scenarios in and create simple forms for different scenarios that you guys can just go and plug and play as opposed to modifying one big form. But it all depends, right? I'm here to help. So that's a good idea. I'm glad you're doing that.
I'm wondering if I'm missing something when you guys are saying exclusive service agreements. From my understanding, I thought people could have as many service agreements with as many real estate agents as they want. Am I wrong here?
Depending on the service agreement, there are service agreements out there that have an option for exclusivity, as in, yes, this is exclusive. It can only be the services only can be provided. You can only enter into this service agreement of this nature with this brokerage. And there's ones that say, no, you can enter into multiple service agreements. So it depends which box is checked.
Okay, I didn't know that. So it's somewhat like a contract. You're kind of getting a contract
Oh.
at the same time.
So that's what's interesting is it's, sort of where they actually can't enter an agreement. Now, my question is, okay, well, what happens if they do, right? So say if they go buy a house with Remax and you have an exclusive service agreement and the buyer breaks their service agreement, does Remax get in trouble? Can we go after our commission from Remax, or do I have to go chase the client? I've asked lawyers, they're not sure yet either. So that's one where I don't know how tight these things are going to be anyways.
Okay.
But again, that's why it's a moving, like we're learning, and that's where real life situations are happening, and we have to pivot and adjust as these, real life occurs and we get these weird situations.
So far, I haven't seen an exclusive service agreement. I've just seen the ones that were on web forms. Service
Doesn't it
agreements.
say at the bottom of those, under number 5, it says exclusivity of service agreement? Then you have 2 boxes. The first A says that it's exclusive, and the second one says no, the parties are not. It's not an exclusive. So it depends which box you take off. That's on web forms, right at the bottom. Number 5.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
I had a question here, and if I'm being Captain Obvious about this, just let me know. But on the seller's exclusive one, if this has been updated again, let me know, and I'll shut up. But exclusive agreement on the seller's one says parties agree that this is an exclusive agreement with the brokerage and the buyer. Am I missing something on that? Because this is on the seller's.
No, it says on this, the brokerage and the seller on that one.
Yeah, because the seller's one is going to typically accompany a listing agreement, right?
Yeah.
So,
But I have a copy here that's a seller's agreement, the Royal LePage
Yeah,
one.
it was a typo, John. I think that's been edited since.
that has been edited. There was a typo. Yeah,
Oops. Okay.
I believe
Okay,
it's
I've
been
got that.
replaced. Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Okay.
all good. No,
Thank you.
appreciate that.
A super quick one from me too. I don't know if it was answered or not, but do we need both service agreement and working with the realtor sign, or just a service agreement now?
Yes, both.
Both.
Again, the biggest thing, the service agreement is not agency.
Okay.
It's really, here's what I'm going to do for you. That's what a service is. Like, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to do open houses. I'm going to show your homes. I'm going to find you a property, all that kind of stuff. Agency contract is your legal obligations to the client, and it's a client relationship established. So agency and service agreements, although similar, are 2 different things.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And I'll say from that, the agency brochure, as we get into advertising in a bit, the agency brochure is, again, we've always made it mandatory that you have to get these things signed, but it's super important now, especially with the advertising changes, that you have those agency forms signed, because ours has marketing purposes and ability to market the properties, and market the solds, and market all their information is a big one. So make sure you get those things signed.
It doesn't say anything about exclusive anywhere. So I don't know what's going on here.
Your mic is on, Deborah. Thanks for not swearing. Cool. Okay, anything else on
Could we not make the working with a realtor and the service agreement the same form?
So the answer to that is yes, we can. Something we're looking at as well is how can we put these all together into a form. Now, again, that just creates length of form.
But they will literally check this and not read that. Or you have a couple boxes in there and then it, identifies a few things, but it's the same form, and it would be less, the whole point is to reduce objections. It would be less offensive to sign a working with a realtor as to a service agreement. Like, now they feel like they're obligated, but this is just, hey man, I'm showing you some houses and this is what I'm going to do. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah, again, they're very similar, and the big difference there is, one with agents, a service agreement is what you're doing for them. what an agency is what they're doing for you as well, because they're locked into agency, right? So that's where just there's a slight shift, but I do agree. That's what I'm also going to be working on, is that can we somehow put these two together? But that's where somebody might, hey, I just want you to show me houses. I don't want you to be my agent. I don't want to be tied to you. I just want you to show me some houses. So that's where agency, can muddy the waters, but
That could just be a checkbox on that form.
could be, yeah. And so that's a good point. We'll write it down, and that's one of the things
That
we're
would be great.
going to wordsmith as
Also,
well.
Michael, would it, and I don't know, I'm just sort of thinking out loud, would it be helpful for us as a brokerage to also create sort of just like a pamphlet, like a 3-page brochure that kind of explains it at a high level that we can just give to our clients? So it just seems more authentic, not as shady, like, oh, here, sign this paper, and we actually have something that's printed or printable or whatever that we can actually give to people.
Yes.
Or even a link to a web page where they could go and read that.
Like anything, just so that it gives us more.
Yep. Kind of like you with FinTrack, you can hand them the FinTrack brochure. It's like, hey, I'm not making this up. Here's the law. So the short answer is yes, we can work on that. I think there's already been some work on it. I also know that Maria is coming out with a whole public campaign. I'm not sure if brochures are in that mix. I'll take a look at that. Cass, if you could take a note and remind me. If they're going to make them, then we'll have one for Maria. I'm not sure if they're doing it, but good point, and we'll look into it. Anybody else on service agreements? All righty, clear as mud. Okay, moving on to, I'm just going to quickly talk about, it shouldn't be too long here, but just a refresher on the contents of the offer. So as of January 1, as I think I've mentioned before, right, the offers are essentially, there's a bit more teeth to them if we're missing things on the offer, right? So the big ones, you have your price and inclusions and terms and conditions and all that kind of jazz. But the big changes there is they're really clamping down on sellers' names and the sellers and buyers' names and addresses. Okay, so first of all, the seller's name needs to be in full. So B Sanders is not going to work anymore. You need to write Barry Sanders down, right? Full names. You don't need legal middle names, but full names need to be on the offers, and addresses need to be there too, with city and province. Okay. This is annoying, but I asked the Securities Commission, I said, is this, is 123 Main Street fine, or do you need one? They said, no, bare minimum needs to be city and province, was what the answer I got from the Securities Commission. Because RESA just says address. I said, well, what's an address, right? How much do you need? And that's what they said. So city and province, because as you know, there's a whole bunch of different main streets and first streets and whatever else. So they need their full address. Care of, if you're working with a corporation, does work. So you can use C/O, care of this address for a corporation or something like that. That does work, but again, bare minimum city and province, sellers' names in full. Okay, so with that, we've kind of rejigged some of our the back end processing to make sure we have eyes on offers quicker when it comes to these really key elements of an offer. That again, because the consequence to any of these key elements that are required by law to be on an offer, if any of them are missing, as I mentioned before, the consequence is potentially commission disentitlement. Okay, so I don't know, again, I'm just playing this movie out a little bit. I don't know, you're on the listing end, you send in, you guys are missing a seller's address on the offer, send it to the seller's lawyer. I'm not sure if that seller's lawyer is going to say, hey, look at that, they're missing the address. You don't have to pay commission. I don't know if that's a real world scenario or not, because we haven't encountered it yet, but according to the act, it could be, right? So it's crucial that you actually, take time with your offers and fill them out properly. You should be doing that anyways. But that's the consequences could be quite severe. So our staff right now, we've trained them up and we're continuing to train them. We have answered lots of questions with them. They're going to be looking for those items with every offer to make sure this thing is filled out completely and we're not missing any of those key elements. Your commission is not in jeopardy. So when the staff emails you and says you're missing these items, it's not for fun and games. It is not because they're so bored that they need to email you about these things that they're just casually, oh, this is just, it'd be nice if you get these. No, they're emailing you because your commission's at stake. If you don't get it done, you could be losing your commission. Okay, so take those emails from our staff seriously. If they're sending you an email, it's because I told them to send you that email. So on that note, what kind of our process is, just so everyone knows, is especially if there's one of those things that are incomplete, we are not going to be sending it to a lawyer. Okay, so I'm not, because I don't know how lawyers are going to react. I don't know if they're going to tip off their client that they don't have to get paid. I don't know how that's going to work yet. So at this point, we've instructed our staff, if there is a key element of an offer missing, we're not going to send it to a lawyer. So we just had 2 of these come in yesterday, February 1st possessions, and the offer was crap, missing all kinds of things. Well, we can't, I don't want to send that crap offer to a lawyer because I don't know if that lawyer is going to take away your commission or not, I don't know how that's going to work. So we're not sending it to a lawyer. So if you're writing crappy offers with quick possession dates, you're doing a real disservice to your client. Okay, so with all love and respect, fill out the offers properly. You are a professional getting paid a lot of money to do your job, so do the job. And that way our staff will look over it, and if there's anything missing, if there's an oopsie somewhere, we're going to let you know, get it fixed quickly so we can send it to the lawyers to make sure your deal gets processed and we can serve your client professionally the whole way through the transaction. Is that fair? Everyone says amen.
Pretty fair. Just fill out the frigging offer.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting my words concisely.
Can I reiterate Jeremy's question in the chat?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just looking through here. What if the buyers live at 2 different places? Both addresses need to be put. I have to look at is there 2 different lines? That's a condo one, right? Good question, Jeremy. I don't know the exact answer to that. I'm going to say most likely, but I will get back to you on that. I will ask that question to Securities Commission.
I think that that's a case of where if you put a care of, it would just be,
You could
right,
just do care of that one
put
address.
care of and choose one. I would do, that's what I would do personally.
Yeah, no, that seems like it makes sense to me. I'll run it by and just check on with securities on that to make sure, but that seems like the easiest workaround, Marcia, so good eye.
And does it matter care of the second property, or does it have to be care of the first property?
No, just an address.
Care of an address. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is Sonia. I just had a situation where the sellers moved out of the listing, but their driver's license had the listing address, and they moved in with their parents momentarily, like temporarily. So in a situation like that, which address would you use?
I don't think it's going to matter, right? No one's checking up on the address. The address line needs to be filled out. You can already make an argument that both of them are addresses, right? So, they're still currently getting mail probably to their address of their home. If they're not, they're going to their parents. You can put the parents. No one's going to double check on that. Use which one makes the most sense, or use the care of.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to see Jeremy's second question there. So this is one, Jeremy, I truly don't know the answer to. What happens if the listing agent messes up, and whose commission is at stake? I don't know. And I've asked Securities Commission about it, and what their answer was, I said, who enforces this? Whose call is it? Can I just say, oh, buyer's agent messed up, we get their commission? Whose is it to enforce? And their answer was, it's the Securities Commission to enforce. So that would mean that somebody would have to bring it to the Securities Commission's attention, which would mean brokerages aren't probably going to do that to each other. We're all probably going to play nicely in the sandbox. That being said, I don't know about a lawyer, because now they're really working for their seller, and I don't know. Again, the answer is I don't know. If there's a blank there, whose fault is it? Well, it was the buyer's address, but you accepted the offer. Now you guys both missed it. I don't know. That's truthfully the answer. I don't know. I know it's not one you want, but I truly don't know.
To further on
sorry, John.
Go ahead.
I just don't want to have to be policing all the listing agents, because half the times they're crap anyway, right? And if they're not following the rules, then I don't want to be like, hey, you got to get this filled out, otherwise we're both going to be screwed, right? Now we're policing other people.
Well, so and in all reality, what I think is that's going to be happening is that agents are going to start policing agents, right? You guys are going to start policing each other, saying, "I don't want to risk this crap. Do your offer properly, man." You know, or if you see that offer in multiple offers, the guy can't fill it out properly. You know, nuts to you. I don't want it. This guy can't fill out a bloody offer properly. So I think you guys will be taking some policing on each other, to be honest. But again, the answer is if there's an offer that's accepted and there's a blank there, who's commissioned? It just says the agent's commission is which agent. It doesn't say buying agent, listing agent. It just says agent's commission is this entitled. So
I mean, hopefully
I don't know. And until we really start seeing some of these things and experiencing them, I'm not sure how it's all going to play out. I'm sure there's probably going to be a legal process. There might be appeals. I have no idea.
What if somebody uses the old offer to purchase?
So same thing. In that case, if somebody uses the old one, get the amendment form. I know it's on the hub, it's on Maria, it's on Keystone. The amendment form that kind of get that signed by all parties, filled out and signed, that basically amends the old offer to the new offer.
Okay, all right.
Can we talk about advertising shortly here? Like this non-registrants and advertising, please?
Oh,
like
yeah.
all this stuff, like I get it's important, but like just fill out the offer.
I'm leaving the best for last, Brian.
I just had one more question.
I just want it now.
To further to Jeremy's question there, like the other day I received an offer and literally like it was the nightmare offer that you'd get. Nothing was filled out. So, you know, my fear is what if it's a full, you know, it's an unconditional offer and now you got to go back and start countering all this stuff. Whereas before we would say, well, accept the offer and it's a slam dunk. Now we're kind of not,
yeah, so this is
on who we're working on behalf
again,
of, right? Yeah.
If it was, so for instance, depending on how bad this offer is and whatever else, there might be some countering done. A lot of times if they're missing a seller's blank, you don't need to counter the seller's address in there, just fill it out, right? You don't even need initials on it because it's not an amendment to the offer. You're just filling in what was left. So you can just like, hey, you know, in that case, like, hey man, you're missing the seller's address or you're missing the buyer's address. What's the address? I'll write it in here for you, right? Or fill it out and bring it, send it back to me again, right? Yeah, you're gonna have to, you know, again, agents who don't know what they're doing, as we've always had to deal with, you have to, you know, slap them upside the head a little bit and get them on the same page. But you're right, it's a pain in the ass, but you have to deal with it.
Okay, so if it's not filled out,
yeah, but you don't have to counter offer. You're not going to counter offer, you know, that the seller's address is, you know, something like that doesn't make sense. Just fill it out, send it back to them, or take a pen out and write it in, or you know, put it in there.
Okay, and then those other spots you like where it's supposed to say none or whatever. That's
those ones.
It's not the big part. Okay.
Yeah, those ones aren't. It's the addresses. You have to have price and deposit, which of course you're gonna have those ones. Is pretty straightforward. You know, you have to have your deadlines. The biggest one is you have to have. The other one is you have to have the date of signing, right, of the buyer, the date the offer is made. So that buyer, if they miss that, you know, signed by the buyer at blank, 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 blank. If that's missing, technically speaking, you're missing a key element of the offer and your commission's at stake.
Okay.
So those dates, those are the little ones that you're going to have to check up on, make sure those are done. Otherwise, you know, again, all the big items you're going to have in there, right? You're going to have the price and deposit and conditions and all that kind of stuff is easy. It's those little dates that are the ones to watch out for. Also, clause 12, representations by broker. That's a requirement. That one has to be filled out as none. So make sure those ones, that's why it's just bottom line is like, fill the bloody offer, don't leave any blanks. Short answer.
Thank you.
So yeah, as far as I'm just looking here, Jason asked the question, other than the addresses, what else is critical? So I just ran through a bunch of them. I'm going to encourage you guys to read the Services Act, but I can find, I'll pull it, I'll have the link to it, but it's right in there, key elements of an offer. Sorry, let me just look, you guys want me to show it to you or?
And I guess deposit is very important, right? Like if there's no deposit with the offer, there has to be a specified date as to when the offer is going to come.
Yes, if there's not a deposit with the offer, you have to specify whether it's going to be coming within 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, whatever else it is. Okay. I'm just like required content for all offers, 4.3 here. I'll just give me 1 second here. 4.3.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, do we have to put all the details of their financing, their Is that
Oh,
super?
that
Yeah.
stuff, it's not, okay, so I'll just do this quickly here. Screen share.
I had an agent telling me they had
Okay,
to.
so here's required content for all offers, okay? The date on which the offer is made, the names and addresses of the offer and offeree, okay? Street address or legal description of the real estate. We always have that one in there. Never see that one blank. Yep, price offered. Yep, and the terms and conditions, which are already in the offer. Amount of the deposit, if there is one, right? Whether it's going to be part of the purchase price or lease payments, and the method of payment, who is it be paid, that's all in the offer already, right? But you have to have the deposit filled out. Any promise or undertaking guarantee made by the brokerage, right? Or by the registrant. So that is, and all these wonderful things here. So that would be clause 12, which you're going to always write in none because we don't do this kind of stuff. G, description of chattels, right? That are being included, which is always usually in there. But I guess why don't leave it blank. Say if there's none, put none. Don't leave it blank. The date of possession, which we know. Date of adjustments, which is already in the offer. Date on which offer must be accepted. So that's a deadline must be in there. And name of the brokerage and your name at the top. Okay. And then on the acceptance, it has to have the date of the acceptance and total commission payable. Right. So there's not a huge bunch of changes there. It's just the big one is, you know, which ones just get glossed over sometimes is this one, or sorry, the names and addresses, right? The date of the offer is made, those kind of just those dates and names. Those are the ones that can kind of just trip you up. That's why I kind of focus on those, but everything else is pretty much in the offer already, or stuff that's you're filling out every time. But if you need to read it again, section 4.3. Any other questions on contents of the offer? Cool. All right, moving on to, advertising. So this is, I know, again, I will make some wonderful disclaimers that I've told many of you, I was on record. This was the one thing we got when the regulations came out. We were, it was presented by Bob Tyler to the board of directors, and I'm on record and on video recording and saying this is asinine and you need to take this back to Securities Commission because this advertising thing is completely bunk and ridiculous. And even surprised by, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. And nonetheless, it got out. So words fell on deaf ears, and here we are. So, yay. Let me just pull up a couple things because I did want to show you guys a couple things with this. The other thing I'm going to say before we get into some of the advertising is we can, again, let's not just sit here and bitch and complain because that doesn't do us any good. Let's try to find solutions and workarounds and answer questions. But again, not my, why can't I increase the size of this thing? I'm having trouble zooming in on my screen here for some reason. Sorry, give me 1 second. I just want to blow this up for you guys. Oh. Advertising, where are we? There we are. Okay. We have my notes, so 2 here. Sorry. Okay. Also, one of the things I'll just say before we get into things with advertising is there has been considerable pushback on a lot of these things. There's been a lot of letters written, et cetera, phone calls, et cetera. What I was told by MSC when I talked to them yesterday about this was that they will be, they are crafting some more guidelines around these advertising rules. So hopefully that will create a bit more framework for us to operate in. Maybe they'll say this is okay and this isn't. I'm not sure yet. So there will be some guidelines potentially coming out in sometime in the near future. So my guess is what those are is as good as yours, but we'll talk about what I know currently. So just a little bit of a preface there. Okay, so when it comes to advertising, I just want to, I'm going to share my screen here for a second. Okay, so this is some of the big ones that I know you guys are all hating, right? Now, good news is we can wordsmith some of this stuff, and we're going to talk about some potential loopholes and what you can and can't do. So this one, your advertisement must identify brokerage and individuals depicted, right? So any registrant must ensure that any information, any advertisement that the registrant makes public in relation to real estate or trades in real estate includes the name of the brokerage, which you already know, and the name of the individual depicted in the advertisement. Okay, so you have to have names of people. If you're putting on your team, and all your team associates or whatever it is, your team members, you got to have everyone on there. You got to have their names on it. Okay. Now, this is the one that you guys are, and I myself am also not sure of why in the hell it's even in here. But it says advertisement must not name or depict a non-registrant, right? So we know this, a registrant must ensure that no non-registrant, is anybody not an agent, is named or depicted in an advertisement that the registrant makes public in relation to trades or trading in real or trades in real estate. So this is the one you guys hate the most, right? This is where you can't have your sold sign with your clients in front of the house, right? I've seen people, they've asked questions. Well, I'm going on family vacation. I'm posting on social media with my family and my kids. Can I have them? Now, let's just break this down a little bit here, because I will always, if you know me at all, I like a fight, and I don't mind fighting against Securities Commission and fighting against government because I hate them all. So I'm always up for a fight, but it has to be logical and I have to have a chance of winning. So one of the things here is a couple different things here where you have some loopholes potentially. Number one is makes public. Okay, so if you are advertising that you're making it public, that is a potential loophole out of certain things. As an example, if you, again, it might be defensible to say if you create that sold ad with your buyers in front of it, and you have a Facebook list and you email blast it out to all of your clients and all of your database, right? And you post that list or something like that, share it with them in some capacity that way. I think you can share who sees what, right? I'm not an expert on Facebook, but maybe somebody can chime in, or Brittany or whoever, right? But there are ways of limiting who sees what. If it's not public, right? If it's you're sharing this to your friends, that's not public. Okay, so loophole.
You can like create like separate lists on a lot of social channels where it's not like, it's like you said, it's not like your technical client list and it's not to the public. And I'm finding that even when people are like simply traveling right now, they're just sharing their life and whatever on their close friends list and things like that.
Exactly. So you can, again, makes public is an opportunity for loophole. Okay. But of course, if you're just posting it out there and just randomly boom public ad or a public post that you sold this house, for sure, and with your clients in there, you're going to be in violation. It's pretty much directly in violation, right? The second kind of loophole part is relation to, now this is what's really the dumbest word I actually have seen in here, is in relation to real estate, which is weird because real estate is not even defined in the act at all. This is the only place you see this word real estate, because otherwise it's always trading in real estate, etc. So it's really weird that shows up here. I don't even know what it means. I have some lawyers looking into it, but also now trades in real estate is the other part. So it has to be in relation to trades in real estate. So this is where if you are posting a family picture, and think of trade in real estate meaning transaction, a deal. Okay. So if you are not talking about a deal, you're okay. So if you have your family, hey, it was a great day at the beach today, and you put it in your business page, and I love hanging with family as much as I love selling real estate. Great. It's not connected to a trade. You can post that stuff. That's fine. It's in regards to a specific trade. So it's, I sold this house. These are my services I provide. Call me today if there's no call to action, right? My biggest thing, and I'm fighting as well for the loophole, is the word advertisement. What is an advertisement? Right. So this is where I'll say as an example on your website, and you have your staff on your website, and you have, I'm picking on Royce here, and it's Sarah, here's his executive assistant, Sarah's on his website. I would make a strong case that that's not an advertisement. So go away. If, I know some people were scrubbing their websites and things like that for, non-registrants. I would not call that an advertisement. Okay. If you're advertising it specifically with the trade in real estate, then you got to follow these rules in non-registrants. So yes, for some reason, actors in a video, for some reason that's not allowed technically on this. We're fighting back on it, but technically that's not allowed. Right. But hopefully I gave you a couple little loophole ideas there with that. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there for a second, because we'll go into this one here, number 36, about this is kind of more your just sold on your website and sold advertising, what you can keep on your website. We'll get to that in a sec. Does anybody have any questions or comments or questions? Yeah, about specifically kind of this one here, 35, about non-registrants being in your advertising.
So you are going to be fighting this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know exactly what that means. I mean, we're fighting provincial government. So I'm, we have to actually go through politicians here.
Yeah, they say they're trying to modernize the system, but this is taking us back to the prehistoric times of social media.
I agree. There's certain questions like, so you advertise, hey, call me today for a free home evaluation. You have a stock photo of a lady holding the keys.
Yeah.
Apparently that is not allowed, which is just insanity, right? So those are the things we're pushing back on, being like, what are you? And I think that's where the guidelines, again, I don't know what their intent was here. I really don't. But I assume it wasn't that. I assume their intent was around more agents advertising themselves and having, a big giant team of 12 people on a billboard, and 5 of them, are shoe polishers and the rest of them are agents. I'm assuming that was kind of their intent. I don't know, because I don't see how this protects the public in any way. I don't know what the intent was here.
That I don't get, some of these buyers, everyone knows they're 10 months, years looking for this house. They finally get one after paying 120 grand over asking, and they can't wait to get that sold. Sorry, bud. You know what? Everyone else 2 years or a year ago, a month ago was allowed, and now we aren't allowed to do that. It's like, it just makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I agree. But again, there's a couple workarounds. Send it to the close groups and family, or again, take the picture, make the ad, and send it to them, and then they can post it.
Or Michael. I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
Yeah, me too. I think that like someone just came into my office and asked a question about different channels, like different social channels having different functions. And I think that what we can do as a brokerage, if you guys are unfamiliar on how to adjust your public profiles to have a little bit more of a tighter audience, we can put that information out there. So like Instagram has close friends. Facebook has functions where you can modify who sees your post. So going back to what Michael said about things public versus, not, those are things that are available to you guys that we can send out.
But the way we get business is the way I understand how to filter your audience and everything, but the way everyone gets business on social media is random people. Yeah, I get that, but that's a thing they're not tapped into, right? But if random people, if you limit what people can see, the randoms that have no clue who the Walker Group is, they come to our Instagram page, they see 1,000 people who have used our services, they see their friends, and then they reach out to that friend being like, oh shit, how was it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If it's a private account, they're never going to come and they're not going to be able to see anything.
Well, it's just about being selective and having a new
MSU not
strategy.
want us selling more and making more money?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to interrupt for a second there.
It's making it prehistoric.
Your also your audio is behind, so it's kind of overlapping here. So
Can I ask
line,
a question?
in a second, please, whoever,
Okay.
sorry, I can't see who that was, but
That was Linda.
Okay, thanks, Linda. I'll be right back to you. Mike, in regards to that, yeah, but again, I agree with you. I think it's I think it's archaic and it doesn't make any sense, and it limits your ability to advertise the way you want to advertise, which is our complaint to them. It's restricting business models, it's restricting ability to earn a living. All those kind of things are going to be claims we're going to be making against the Securities Commission to rethink this. Currently, you can't do it. That's all I got for you. So right now, as dumb as it is, and we can bitch and complain as much as we want, that's what the act says currently. We're going to try to make strides. I'm giving you some loopholes to at least do something at the moment. But we're going to be, again, people are pushing back on this. They're creating some guidelines. We're hoping to have some input with these guidelines, and we'll see if they can maybe pivot a little bit off of their archaic ways. Linda?
I'm just wondering if this is a workaround. What if the sellers stand in front of the sold sign or whatever, they're super happy and they have like a big paper bag on each of their heads with holes in them? And then
Yes.
I can just shake their hand and nobody knows who they are, but they're in the picture and they're in front of their house, and it would sort of make maybe the MSC go, wow, that is dumb.
Yeah, in theory, yes. It says, yep, there you go. Walker's holding up that, if you cover their faces up, absolutely.
Okay, then I'm doing that in my next promo.
You can put emojis on their things.
This was this morning, and they were so pissed off that they couldn't actually be in the picture.
Extremely disappointed.
So, okay, so if we want to, again, get on the bandwagon of, putting some pressure on the authorities that be, again, realtors complaining about the laws that govern them are one thing. The public complaining about it is another. And if the public is complaining, if you have, for instance, Mike, if you have those clients, and maybe we can formulate, I'm not a politician by any means, but maybe, hey, those people write in like, I've been waiting 9 months to do this sort of thing. I want to take this post and I'm so excited about it. And my realtor can't do this. This is ridiculous. Now, if I was just saying, being devil's advocate, I'd say, well, there's nothing stopping you from posting it as the people. They can take the picture and they can post on their social media. So they have the picture. It's just that you can't. So I don't know how effective that'll be. But nonetheless, the more whining and complaining that MSC receives on this stuff, they're more likely to change.
If they post it themselves and then tag us in it, can we share that?
No, I cannot share it. You can just let it ride, but you can't share it.
Gotcha.
Because now you're advertising, apparently.
Does this affect things like co-op advertising with a banker or recommending a restaurant in one of your posts saying, hey, this is a great restaurant, or these people provide a great service, the sign company helps us out?
So again, in that one, I would argue, is that an advertisement? I don't think so. If you're saying, hey, everybody, just want to let you know, I just ate at Baraka in North Main here, and here's Sahid, as actually who's behind the counter, I know him. So here's Sahid, and he makes a great falafel. I don't think that's advertising. That's not advertising. A trade in real estate, as long as you don't say, and I'm David DeLue, your realtor, call me. Right now, you're advertising. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah. So again, I don't know. I bet somebody, the Jeff Douglases of this world are going to whine about it and they'll report, or I don't know what they're going to do, but nothing against Jeff. I like him, but you know what I mean? He likes to watchdog everyone. So, but I would be the defense, right? That's defensible, not an advertisement.
Does this go backwards as well? Like, should we be going back and removing all the sold stuff from our socials and like pictures of clients?
I'm going to go with a no on that one. Now they might, again, the act might say, well, no, your social media page, but again, there's a defense. It was posted prior to January 1. I'm not advertising it anymore. It's on a feed, for crying out loud. Give me a break. They might come back and say, no, you have to do it. But for now, I think that's a low priority item and they got other problems. They can't even get their own forms together, let alone go browsing your social media.
All right.
So that's my real world answer.
That's good.
I just want to make a comment about that, Michael. If you guys are deciding that that's something that you want to do, you can archive your post. So it just temporarily removes it from your feed and you don't have to delete it forever. Just as an option for people who are looking at Instagram and Facebook specifically.
Good to know.
Cool.
The giant gray area that this causes with all this, I'm sure that they'll show leniency with people that kind of misinterpret things. I mean, like, they haven't really interpreted this in the best way as we.
Yeah, I can't speak to how lenient they're going to be. They might be lenient, they might not. I have no idea.
What are the punishments or fines or repercussions, I guess is the better word?
I don't know all of them. I heard something about a 45-day suspension. I haven't actually read that, but doesn't mean it's not out there. If somebody could direct me to that, that's fine. But no, I think basically, Securities Commission in the act, again, without going into all the weeds, they basically give themselves enough power to fine you a realtor up to $150,000 and a brokerage $500,000. So they can essentially bankrupt anyone they want. So that's the consequences. Now, is that realistic? You're going to get fined $150,000 if you have a picture of your brother on his buying a house? No, but I don't know. I don't know how severe they're going to come down. I don't know what the consequences are going to be for these violations.
Now, Michael, if clients were to send an email, would it be to Hyman or who would it be to?
No, don't email anything to Hyman. Email directly to the Securities Commission. Yeah, no,
So who would it go to?
I would direct it to the Securities Commission, Keith Schinkel.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Circumvent Maria at all costs, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to see if there's anything else So family stuff it went over, clients, direct, yeah, okay. The other, I'll say another little kind of potential loophole is putting that stuff, again, I'm not sure on this one, but you're hearing me out, is putting that kind of a post with the stage, just pay your clients sold sign, that kind of thing, on your website, and then potentially promoting your, just making, hey, check out, I have a new post on my website, and then directing people to your website. Because I don't think a website is an advertisement, right? You're just putting things on your website, websites are information pages. I don't believe websites are advertisements. You can advertise your website, but a website in itself is not an advertisement, right? Unless it's like maybe a landing page or a severe call to action. But a generic website for yourself, and here's who I am and about my family and my kids and my dog, and here's what I do in my awards, and happen to have here's Becky and Carl who just bought this house with a sold picture. I don't know if I could probably defend that that's not an advertisement on your website. And
well, Instagram pages and Facebook pages are the same thing as a website, in my
I
opinion.
struggle to see the difference.
I think you're right.
Too.
I agree with you, but that's not what.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. That is, from my understanding, and how Security Commission is interpreting this, is that a social media post is an ad. I disagree, and I think it's archaic. Back with Michael on this one, but again, that's what we have to fight. But that's their stance right now, as I understand it.
It just goes to show how archaic they really are.
Yeah,
we've been working on it for over 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Cool. Okay, so slightly moving on to still advertising, but as far as like sold properties go, I know people are asking about their websites, etc., what they need to have. So I'm just going to share my screen again here, give you the exact wording. Okay, so no advertising in relation to a specific trade without owner's consent. A registrant must not make public advertising, there's the word public again, advertising indicating that specific real estate has been the subject of or has been a subject of a trade in real estate unless the owner of the real estate or the owner's authorized agent has consented to the advertising. Okay, so what this means is, again, public, we know about that when we talk about that. Again, indicating specific real estate has been part of a trade. Okay, so a specific real estate has been part of a purchase or a sale, unless the owner of the real estate consents. So what this means is, number one, specific real estate meaning an address. Okay, that's specific real estate. This is where, again, these, if it wasn't for this kind of first one, but if you just said, hey, Bob and Joe bought a house, congratulations, that in itself is okay. Having their picture, unfortunately, is not. But you can say congratulations to Bob and Joe on their purchase of a home. Okay, and you can have Bob and Joe with an emoji on their head, but you can't have their picture. Kind of these two are in conflict there. But anyways, just letting you know. So this is specific real estate. So if you're on the listing side, just have a listing first. If you're a listing agent.
Hi, good. How are you?
You, Linda. Yep. If you are a listing agent, you sell a home up until that possession date, you got full board. You can advertise everything because you're as long as you have your agency form signs and your listing contracts, you have the owner's permission to advertise the home as you see fit. Okay. As soon as possession occurs, the former owner, the seller, is no longer the owner, and now the owner is the buyer. Right? Ownership has changed. Now you would need that owner's permission. So if you are a buyer's agent, you would, if you have our form signed, our agency forms, you have permission to advertise. So you can advertise your just solds and all that kind of nonsense. You can even have up on your website up until ownership changes again. But as a listing agent, it would have to come down off your website as a sold property as of possession. Loophole, it talks about specific real estate. A house without an address, in my opinion, is defensible that it is not specific. You don't know which house that is. So I'm going to make the suggestion that I believe I can defend, that having sold listings on your website that does not contain the address can be on your website. Does that
You
make
can
sense?
say something like sold in Oakbank, sold in Transcona.
Pictures of houses without addresses, I don't think that's specific real estate, and I can defend that, I would think, right? Not specific, there's just a house, that's not specific. Now, I could see them, you know, saying, no, is that specific house, in which case I would say, back up your drone and include a few different houses in there, right? Like loopholes, right? So, but so at this point, if you can, listing agents, if you've got past sales as a listing agent, if you scrub your addresses, I think you're going to be okay, or at least I can defend you. Okay.
Do you mean just scrub the address part of it and still leave the street name?
No, you can't have.
As I would say, just scrub the bloody addresses personally. Maybe neighborhoods you want to leave or areas of the city, but you don't want to target on your back here, right? So I would go with getting rid of, even though I could probably make that argument for you, but now I'm just saying I would go as non-specific as possible, just to make sure you have a more defensible case. But if you want to be the first one to try it, go for it.
I would edit out the number that's on the house as well.
For sure. Yeah. If you have like the number of the house, definitely
on the house,
blur that out. Yeah. You want to make it as non-specific as possible to be compliant with their law here. Yeah. Again, if you are the buyer's agent and you sold that property, you can have the address, right? As long as you have our form signed, you can have that address on your website. If you sold it as a buyer's agent, as long as it's after possession. But again, if, hey, 3 years later it sells and the ownership changes, you would have to take it down because you weren't part of that trade necessarily, unless you got to relist it, right? Does that make sense? Because how it's worded here is owner, right?
Is that as of January 1st or older listings as well?
January 1st, right? So, but that's why if you have an old listing right now, you would not be, if you are advertising a listing that you sold in August of last year as I sold 123 Main Street and you were the listing agent and not the buyer's agent, you would be in violation. If you take off the address and make it non-specific, I can make the argument you don't have specific real estate. Everybody make sense on that?
So go through and remove addresses even on things prior to January 1st, right?
On the listing side, if your buyer still lives in that home, you're cool.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Okay. All righty. All right. Last but not least, quickly on PRECs. I know it doesn't affect everybody, so I'll be brief with it. If you're involved with a PREC, that's a personal real estate corporation, which I will call PREC. This is the biggest cluster cuss of it all. They made things mandatory without even having forms ready to go to get registered. It's a disaster. So with that, if you are a PREC or if you are incorporated right now, just don't advertise it. Don't put it on offers right now. Don't put it on your for sale signs yet, all that kind of stuff. Just wait, because they don't have their registration forms and they're so idiotic there that if they're not registered, then they're saying it's not, you can't advertise it and whatever else. So hang tight. If for the PREC, don't advertise it. Don't put it on offers yet. If you've already done it in the past, don't worry about going and changing it. Just going forward, don't put your name on, don't put the PREC on offers, don't put it on your signs, don't advertise it in any capacity yet because it's not technically registered. So part 2 to that, I'm working on Securities Commission. I've been told when I was gone that they're not permitting payments of commissions into the PRECs yet until they're registered, which is complete and utter horse crap. So I have lawyers looking into it, and I have emails to the Securities Commission pointing out their incorrectness in my opinion. So I will keep you posted if we win that battle. I think that's about it for PRECs. Does anybody have any questions on PRECs?
Hey, Mike, I got a quick question. We talked about this already in regards to the Securities Commission charging us an extra $400 because we have a PREC. I just thought I'd bring it out there and let everybody know that. And
yeah, so
see what we could do.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how brutal this is. Where is it here? I'm just gonna find this email from the Securities Commission. And this will be in the notes. I'll send Cass, remind me to send this to you.
Michael, if I've put Linda Mackey PREC on offers I've written since January, is that okay?
Yeah, don't go change them.
Okay.
Yeah, going forward, don't do it. But if you did it
Okay.
already, I'm not too concerned about it.
Is there a timeline that this is all gonna actually, like, we'll actually be able to register our PREC at some point, or?
I don't know. Timeline, Securities Commission? I don't know. Took them 4 years to do this and screw it up, so I have no idea.
So just getting paid wise, we're not gonna get paid for 4 years then, or?
No, that's what I'm working on, is the whole getting paid part, because I think it's Zdenka told me that they talked to him and that's what they told her over the phone. She can't pay it out. And they wrote me an email completely contrary to that previously. So we've got one person telling her one thing over verbal and one other thing over an email. So I'm getting confirmation on that, and you can't mess with people's paychecks like that. So I think it's wrong what they're doing. So I'm fighting that battle. So as far as the time I know, I'm not sure. In regards to Michael Idoni's question, I'm just going to put this into a quick little Word document here.
What was Idoni's question? Sorry, I missed it on the phone
It
there.
was around registration fees with PRECs. So I'm just going to share this is a copy and paste from the Securities Commission email to me. Where are we here? Here it is. Okay, so PREC will require separate registration in addition to and in connection with the individual registrant. Only one certificate will be issued noting the PREC and the legal name of the salesperson or broker. So if the PREC is to be registered in January 2022 and not in connection with the individual's annual renewal date. So if I'm just looking who's on my screen here, Deborah LeBlanc, sorry, Deborah, if Deborah's anniversary date is for her license renewal is July 15th, and she says, well, I'm incorporated now, I want to get paid, I want to start putting money in my corp. So she registers her PREC with them whenever their forms come out. It's before her anniversary date. So if she's got her PREC, being registered in January, she's got her individual license renewal coming up in July, right? There's a registration fee of $400 to register that PREC in January or February, whatever it is. When the individual's registration, so Deborah's registration expires on July 15th, now both the PREC and the individual need to renew at the same time. So they're going to ding you again twice. That makes sense. So you're going to pay in January to have it registered. And then, your license renewal, your personal one is up in July. And that July date, you're going to need to renew your personal and your PREC at that same time. So essentially, if you do that, it's $1,200 in registration fees that year. And then going forward, it'll be $800 a year. Ridiculous. If the individual waits to register their PREC until their anniversary date, so Deborah says, you know what, I don't need to get paid in my PREC right now. I want to save the $400. On July 15th, when her personal anniversary date is up, she could register her PREC and renew her personal license for $800 at that time. I don't know if you ever heard of a cash grab before, but this is the definition of cash grab. And
yet they'll charge us the extra $400, but they won't pay us. They won't let us get paid.
That's where it's like, like I said at the beginning of this part, I think they screwed this one up the most. And I think some of their stuff is beyond incompetent. It could be, I'm probably out of line by saying criminal, but I think it's borderline, well, not borderline, it's completely offside to restrict payment, to have an act come into effect in law and then restrict payment on their own law because they don't have their own act together. It seems absolutely insane, right? People got mortgages and bills to pay and they're restricting payment because of this. So anyways, I'm fighting that fight for you guys, working on it. Okay.
Michael, sorry. I just want to make sure I understood that. So this year we're going to get dinged that extra $400, but then every year after that, it'll all be on the same anniversary date. So it'll be $800.
And that's what it sounds. It sounds like to me, it's going to be a PREC and an individual one. So it sounds like, it's just gonna be the same anniversary date. They're going to expire at the same date. And that's it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is there something we could sign to that effect, that it's robbery from all of the people that have PRECs, that you're charging us twice and penalizing us to make, I guess, whatever they're doing easier?
Yes, potentially. Once I get the email back from them, I wrote them a pretty point blank, am I right or am I wrong with this sentence? And if they are saying that I am correct, then then you guys can get paid. If they say I'm incorrect, then I will, go down there with a pitchfork.
I have a quick question. I don't know, I hopped on a little bit late. I was just wondering like how this all started, and like, how did like the different governing bodies like weigh in on this? Like, right, we have 3 like regulatory authorities, kind of, sort of. Could you explain like the powers of each one of them? Because I don't understand who we like have to listen to, or all of them, and why. Does that kind of make sense, the question?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll do the best. Okay. So the Securities Commission is the regulator, and they are empowered by the province. Minister of Finance is their boss. Okay. So they have a division called the Municipal Securities Commission. They regulate real estate. They regulate realtors. Okay. They outsource many of their activities to the Manitoba Real Estate Association, and they work in conjunction with Maria, but are not Maria. Maria has to abide by Securities Commission. Securities Commission is the be all. They are the regulator. They are the ones who dictate everything. Maria is an association you pay dues to. They do things like lobby the government, such as MSC and provincial government. They are responsible. MSC has tasked Maria with providing the education. MSC has to approve all the education that Maria does. So your licensing courses, the RLE, MSC has to approve them because MSC's content essentially, but they delegate it to Maria to do. So those are just some of the functions that Maria does. The local board is there to run MLS, your tools and services and all that kind of stuff, and realtor complaints, right? That's what the board says. So they kind of all have different duties, but Securities Commission is the be all and end all sort of, they're the regulator, so they dictate what happens in real estate. Does that make sense? So MSC conjures up whatever they want by provincial legislation. They consulted with Maria because I think they're trying to consult with their stakeholders. They published this thing in June and asked for feedback. Very little, in the busiest real estate market in history, they published this thing, and I expect realtors to read an entire act and brokers an entire act and then provide feedback, which I did on some, and whether they did anything with it or not, that's about it. So Maria did consult with Winnipeg Realtors, the board, and to get some feedback that they could provide back to MSC. I know the Winnipeg Real Estate Board did provide a big letter of points and things like that to send to Maria so that they could communicate with MSC. Again, how many of those things? There were some things that did get changed from the proposed legislation, and some things didn't, like advertising didn't get changed, but they changed some of the disclosures. They changed some of the compensation for, selling to your kids and all that kind of stuff. I know some things got changed and some things didn't. And that was the consulting process that I'm aware of.
Okie dokes. So the boss is MSC. MSC is not realtors. MSC talks to some people on somebody from somewhere committee for MREA. They decide, but they don't do what we do. So that's why we have a legislation that's not ran by realtors, but by some
bureaucrats. Yeah, bureaucrats write that. Yeah, bureaucrats write this stuff. And then they consult with Maria, who is also full of bureaucrats. And so.
Yeah, I got it.
Hence hence my hatred of government.
Okay. So really, again, I'm sorry, I'm like trying to be kind of positive, but through this whole thing, really none of it helps us at all. We pay all of these people money and give them jobs somehow, and we get pooped on by their legislation because they have to do some sort of work to answer to somebody. And there's really no benefit to us and our clients for really any part of this that I can really see that like helps any one of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. That's my rant.
I will agree 100% with that.
Okay.
Again, the MSC's job is not to help realtors. The MSC's job is to regulate us so that we protect the consumers. That's what their job is. Now, they are trying to protect consumers and in turn, hurting how we do business. They don't care about how we do business. That's not their priority. Their priority is protecting the public. How does this protect the public? I don't know. I don't know. But
no, kind of on that note, is there any other provinces that are doing this or have implemented this, or are we like the first province to implement these silly rules?
Well, again,
because I'm following, everyone follows Matt Leonetti, and I don't see him posting anything about his clients. He posts his own sold signs, and I'm pretty sure Toronto is going through this whole advertising thing with clients. I hate to go back, but I feel like Toronto's already going through this.
I think Saskatchewan is too. I follow somebody on social media who has 0 properties or client photos anymore at all. So I don't think we're alone in it.
Yeah.
So like, can we like learn from these provinces as to why this is happening, or are we like, you know?
Well, again, that's past tense. Like it's turning back the clock, which we can't do. Other than I know BC has had mandatory service agreements in for a couple of years now, or a year. They also have no double ending. They have all kinds of legislation right now. The BC government is also getting rid of blind bidding, and they're doing a bunch of other things too. So it could be way worse in BC than what we have right now. I'm just saying, BC is completely. My brother-in-law, my sister, if you don't know, own Royal Page Coast Capital on Victoria, and they're just absolutely getting schmammered out there. Like it's just their BC government is even more whacked than ours. So yeah, and again, I don't know. I can't speak to this. You know, all the intent behind this. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't write it. And again, I think some of the things, you know, service agreements, yeah, they're a pain in the ass. Are they the worst thing in the world? Do they make some sense that like, hey, if you're going to promise free lawn care and grass cutting, that you put it in writing? You know, no, I don't think that's a bad idea at all, to be honest. Now, the rollout is horrendous. So the minutia is horrendous. This advertising thing is horrendous. Some of it is, and some of it is probably okay, right? So there's bits and pieces that I think are okay. None of it really helps our businesses, but that's not that Securities Commission job. So, but again,
Sorry, Michael. I have one more question regarding like, I guess, you know, we're not entitled to our commissions. The question is then if something was missed, like the pertinent information, like the seller buyer's name and address, who decides that we are not entitled to our commission? Does the seller then keep the commission for X agent's part, both of our parts? Or like, where does our, you can't see my air quotes, money go if we are no longer entitled to it? Who decides that?
so what we can do is watch the recording and scroll to 17 minutes and 45 seconds where I address that question.
Okay.
Just joking.
I figured, okay.
Bottom line, I don't know.
Okay.
Is the answer is I'm not sure yet. We're going to see how it unfolds. We don't know. Other than the only people who have the power to disentitle the commission is the Securities Commission. So I can't take away your commission. The lawyers can't take away your commission. Nobody can but the Securities Commission. How it gets to them is yet to be seen.
The workaround is really just filling out the offers properly.
Yeah, doing your job properly really just does a lot of, you know, cures a lot of ailments. Shocker.
This be a good time for the regional real estate board to make it mandatory to have sellers' names and listings instead of asking.
So yeah, great. So that was actually brought up. I'm on the MLS committee. It was brought up last year. It was brought to, again, this is more legal jargon crap, but it was brought up and we said, yeah, we should have that. Like enough of this ask listing agent nonsense. And they said, we went to the privacy lawyer and the privacy lawyer said, it's basically across the board, across all provinces right now, they're all going to be removing that requirement to make it mandatory because it's a privacy concern, blah, blah, blah. So long and the short of it is we can't force people to make it mandatory. It's a breach of privacy legislation.
Okay.
However, there will be some things, you know, again, it'll be prudent of you to, you know, if the addresses are different, you know, to make sure, you know, if you're a listing agent, you know, put stuff in the realtor remarks that a buying agent is going to need in order to fill out an offer completely so that you don't have to go back and forth, like John Hoover was mentioning earlier, and just get it done properly the first time.
Right.
I got a question and step away there for a sec, but going back to advertising, was there anything specific? Because I kind of heard through the grapevine about reviews. Are we able to still post reviews from our clients? Do they need to be fully anonymous or initials or?
Yeah, I'll refer back to I'm just reading the advertising thing here. Again, I I don't see how that's offside. The only thing, depending, it's not, okay, so the only thing is must ensure that no non-registrant, so a client of yours, is named in an advertisement that is made public to a trade in real estate. So they would have to go G and G, or you can't name them essentially.
But it's fine for them to like leave a Google review because that's going to have their full name and they're going to say like, I bought a house with Tyler and he was awesome.
Yeah,
I can't control that.
Exactly. And that's where, again, those ones, what are you going to do? Is tell your clients not to do that? No,
Yeah.
let's just see how that works out. Right.
Yeah.
But as far as like you posting, their names about they sold me this street. But again, we have that one. No, sorry, that one's not about specific. That is about a trade in real estate. So if they just say things like, hey, Tyler's a great guy, he's a wonderful agent, that's not talking about a trade. If they talk about he helped me buy, that might be considering a trade. So you kind of have to work around there too. But if they're not named, it says they have to be, no non-registrant is named in an advertisement. So
if you had tutorials, if you just had their first names on there on your website, is that fine?
Again, a good question. Is that named?
Just first names.
I would, I don't know. It just says named. So Michael is a name. I don't know. In some of these cases, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. But again, like I said before, speeding, right? If you want to speed, but there's consequences potentially. That one is gray area. I'm not sure.
Maybe just initials.
Initials are probably safe because that's not named, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Greg and Susan, I don't know. It's his name. That's going to be their interpretation versus ours, right?
Michael, just sorry, one more time on this one, specific address. So I have 123 Main Street for sale as a listing.
City, province. That's it.
I can't put one on any posts, like just as a new listing, just listed.
Oh, no, just listed. No, those are, okay, what?
Sorry, I got mixed up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, after possession, John.
You can advertise property for sale. Yeah, that's no problem.
Oh, okay. Just once it sells, it could be non-specific. Got it.
No, you're good. If up until possession date, if you have a place listed, you've sold the listing, you can advertise, sold 123 Main Street till the cows come home, and the cows come home is possession date.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. Thanks for the clarification.
And then you got to remove addresses.
Right.
Whew. Good thing I canceled my 12:30. Anything? Any other questions? Again, I'll open up the floor to anything. Well, we got a couple minutes before I go. Oh, sorry, Paige, I didn't see the question here on the chat. If a resident has multiple Airbnb properties, do all guests have to sign service agreements? And if yes, what suggestion would be to make this as efficient as possible? Good question. I don't know. I know that property management, leasing and showing tenants and things like that, all applies to that as well. Airbnb is, I guess, maybe a little different. I'd have to look into that page and read a bit closer.
Yeah, if you could let me know, just because I have multiples that I'm running and the profile's under my name. So I just don't want to get dinged if someone, says something and my photo's there with my full name.
Yeah, that one I know was a question that was asked at a Maria webinar as well. And Stephen Hyman said that he was going to get back he was going to ask the Securities Commission about that. I don't know if he did, about like your own property. For example, like, hey, I have a rental property. If I go show my own rental property, I have to get a service agreement to show my own bloody rental property. Because I'm not showing it as a realtor, I'm showing it as Michael Fraze. I own the real estate, right? So they're getting back to me on that one too. So I'm imagining that's going to fall in the same line. So maybe Cash, just make a note if you could to look into that as well.
If you have a listing, if you have a listing that is tenant occupied, you need a service agreement with the tenants as well as the owner?
No.
No, okay.
We're all going to jail anyhow, it sounds like, right?
See you there.
At least food is free.
Quick question. I might have missed this. I stepped out, but our obligation to keep all texts and email correspondence with our clients.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't know. How do you keep all the texts? I mean, if you have texts every day going on and on for weeks, how do you save that?
If anybody has any more technological, there we go, Tyler does.
Yeah.
Than I
You
do,
can
but
just-
back it up.
Yeah, if you have an Android device or an Apple device, you can have your messages backed up to your iCloud or your Android Google Drive or whatever. Probably have to invest a few dollars in extra storage, but that's how I'm backing mine up. I'm an Android based, so I'm backing my text messages up forever. Just awesome.
And so maybe we'll do again, a cheat sheet or a quick tutorial on how to do that at some point. I don't have anything ready, but you can just, I have same thing. I have everything backed up to, I'm an Apple user, so I use mine goes to an iCloud and I just back everything up and I pay for storage.
Now, how do you access a text message from June 10th of 2014 if you need it? That'll be something I'll have to figure out on the go.
I think my stuff just automatically gets backed up to the cloud, so it's there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
just how it's stored and how to search for it is probably another battle in itself. Is what Tyler is saying.
All right. Okay.
Right. Any other questions at the moment on anything?
Must be lunchtime by now.
Yeah, I'm hungry. But anyways, thanks for all for tuning in. This is recorded. It will get sent out. We'll put some notes up on the hub as well. And again, thanks for your participation. Thanks for your patience as well. Again, just to reiterate, this is as things go and new situations arise, we're going to keep changing and morphing and try to figure this thing out, because it all just, again, it got dropped on all of us at the same time with horrible execution. So it's a work in progress. If you have any questions at any time, again, I would say check out the hub. There might be answers there. And if not, feel free for sure to give one of your wonderful brokers a call. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Guys.
Thank you.
Everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.